Thank you, Dan. One thing that instead of high tunnels, to kind of get an Indian spin to it, we call it the hoop house. So it's kind of one and the same. So when it's kind of referred to that, that's what we're doing. Our program is initially funded through what is called FERTEP, and it's the Federally Recognized Tribal Extension Program, and we got that funding through NIFA. So that's where our funding comes from. And we primarily serve 3 tribes. The Duck Valley Indian Reservation, which is half in Idaho, half in Nevada. That's in I don't know if you're familiar with Nevada, but it's in that southeastern part of Nevada, 100 miles north of Elko. The Walker River Indian Reservation is about 100 miles south of Reno. That's where I live and operate our program out of. And the Pyramid Lake Indian Reservation, which is about 20 miles southwest of Reno. So those are the 3 primary reservations that our program covers. That doesn't mean that those are the only reservations that we attend to, but our programming occurs on these. If any of the other Indian reservations need like a workshop or expertise and things like that, we fit them in as we can as it goes along. But those are our primary. Some of the things we do that kind of fits in with this is we have a Veggies for Kids program. This is a program that educates the 2nd and 3rd graders, and we have one on the Duck Valley Indian Reservation and the Pyramid Lake Reservation, and they are schools, county schools, but they are primarily educated with Indian students, so that's why we can do this. And with our hoop house or high tunnel concept, what we're doing this year is that normally when we have the kids taste the vegetables and stuff like that, we have to go buy them at the store and things like that, which we do. But what we want to do is with the advent of the hoop house, is that we want the kids to actually go out and plant some of the things that they're going to be growing. So they can plant them in the beginning, and then by May, hopefully we can harvest them so they can eat them, grow and eat them. So that, and what that does is it kind of gives everybody some ownership as to, okay, I grew this. And what we're finding is that the 2nd and 3rd graders, when they go home, they also drag in the parents. Okay, hey, this is what I learned at school, so can you cook this for me? And things like that. So that's kind of another concept that we're doing. Here are the locations again. I kind of went over them briefly. Owyhee, that's a Duck Valley Indian Reservation. And there's Nixon, that's a Pyramid Lake. And Schurz, that is the Walker River. So as you can see there, it's 384 miles from Schurz to Owyhee, or the Walker River to Duck Valley. It's 85 miles from Walker River to Pyramid Lake, and 370 from Owyhee to. So that is kind of the area. So as you can see, it's a lot of ground to cover. So we cannot kind of develop our programming like we really want to do it with those conditions. Now, the geographical characteristics of the reservations, they can be categorized as food deserts. That means that freshly grown vegetables are not readily available through a store or other places on each reservation. Farming and ranching enterprises have been traditionally promoted by the federal government, and that is mostly in cattle, hay, and well, basically cattle, hay. Grain kind of slips in as a rotation crop and things like that. And that is my background. That's what I did on the Walker River Reservation for, ever since I was a kid. So that was my background. And I'm now getting into this, the hoop house and things like that, which is, what it is the typical farming and ranching activities. They're so expensive to get into now, because if you got to buy equipment, and cattle, especially cattle, they're extremely high now. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars just to get into it. And what this does is it gives everybody an opportunity to participate, because it's relatively an inexpensive part to get into, and it takes the resources are minimal, along with the construction of these hoop houses. which is another reason why we went with the hoop house structure as opposed to the kits. And we had one kit put up in Duck Valley. Materials cost alone was $3,000, and our program went in and put it up with the hoop houses. And I'm going to show you this later on. We developed two different sizes, one a 33-footer and one 84-footer. Now, the one that we put up in Yerington with Dan, that was an 84-footer, and we kind of based that upon the length of the plastic. 100 foot of plastic would build an 84-foot structure. With the 33-footer, 50 feet of plastic will build that structure. So that's kind of what we went with on that. And to date, since that, and Dan, I don't know, he started something here that I think is going to go quite a ways in Nevada, at least on the Indian reservations. We've put up 12 of them since last January was the first one, I think the first one that we put up on Yerington. So. And the growing seasons, as you can see, range from 60 days up in Duck Valley to 150 days down at Walker River. So those are the extremes that we're kind of dealing with. So each location has a different twist that we kind of need. That's just the range. Okay. Yeah. And like Dan says, some years, like last year, you know, we had a frost in June. And then we didn't have a frost till this last year, I don't know, it was November. So, you know, you have those different variations that you're dealing with. So anyway, that is kind of what we're looking at. And Walker River, you know, they're zone 2, so we got a little longer growing season down there. Now, our mission and goals. As when I was younger, I felt I was kind of indestructible. You know, I could eat anything, do anything, and nothing would happen. When you hit 40, things start happening to where, you know, you got to change something. Either you go to the doctor, you get pills, or you can change your lifestyle. So you kind of start looking at that item when you're 40s. Your 50s, it really becomes apparent that, hey, I got to do something. Otherwise, things are going to start hurting, or you become a drug addict with prescription drugs. So, and that is one of the things that we're trying to, I know everybody's trying to eliminate, but like on the Indian reservations also, they have what they call, for low-income people, they have a commodity food program. And a lot of that is processed foods and quick and easy stuff, you know, that people can fix fairly quickly. Another well-known food on the Indian reservations is the Indian taco. I don't know if any of you have eaten those, but they are good. They are good, but health-wise, if you eat too many of them, not so good. So, but anyway, those are the kinds of things that we're kind of looking at. And what has happened over time is that health problems have developed out of these processed foods and the way people eat. Because you eat, the way you eat is how you feel and what you are. So, and as with anybody else, it's cheap, it's easy, and anymore, and it's not only on the reservations, but you have to have two people working to basically provide an income for living in most areas. One can't do it anymore because of the cost of living. So what happens? You get all these processed foods, and it's quick and easy. You have kids in school. You come home from work. You know, you don't want to sit around. I'm not saying you don't want to, but it's easier to throw something processed into the microwave or oven, heat it up, and there's dinner. So anyway, what has happened is that health problem, diabetes is high in these areas, and that is kind of one of the things that if we can start the growing of fresh fruits and vegetables and supplying themselves, we can eliminate the health problems. Hopefully not all of them, but it will definitely help in that respect. And also the food deserts, just making food available for the families, first of all, in the communities. Again, what we're going to do, what we're doing is, first of all, one of them is to provide a fresh food source for families. The next one is the community. And the third one is developing the opportunity to establish a business. And if it goes good, and not everybody's going to want to do this, some people just want to grow for their family, which is fine. But other people who are looking to find a way to generate a small income producing business, this is an opportunity. And I think there's another spin on this, that if they can get it with a native grown label on it, I think there's an opportunity there to take advantage of that particular market too. So there's that opportunity there that is also available. Now, site selection. Here's what we have in our PowerPoint here. You know, you got to pick a site in that respect. But what we've run into is most people, they have a hoop house site. You know, it's a small piece of land that is next to their house. It's convenient to them, which is important. But a lot of times, it is not located on good soil. So, and with a small amount, yes, you can do amendments and things like that to fix it. But if you want success and immediate success, pick some good soil. If you can, if you have that opportunity to do it, pick some good soil. Because I've seen it both ways, to where you struggle and struggle to make something grow in there, and after a while it becomes frustrating, and there's a tendency to give up on that. If you can't make things grow inside there, you say, oh, this doesn't work. And it's mostly, and it's not the hoop house, it's the soil conditions mostly. It's the environment that you have, most likely. It's not always like that, but that's kind of more of the common causes. So that is one thing that we try to do. Now, this is one that we constructed in Ely, and good thing we went and looked at the site before we went out and put this thing up, because the hoop house takes 14 feet. It's 14 feet wide, and we looked at this site here, and they had, I think, 11. So, you know, and we had a kind of we used Dan and Brent's concept there of the constructing the, you know, the hoop house. So what did we do? Well, we had to cut things down here to make it fit, and just to kind of do that, because all our measurements are made for that 14-foot wide house. So, but we can do that. You know, that's not a problem. We did that. This was a senior citizens one and it was just, we're in the process of just getting it done. But yes, on our situation, always look at the site where it's going to go before you construct something. Because if you get there and you have a workshop going and say, oh man, what do we do now? So those are the kinds of things that you have to kind of look at. Now, we've developed these cost estimates here, and this is what we kind of give out to everybody. These are based on last year's costs. I think the one in Yerington, Dan, when they come up with that total cost, I think by the time they got everything together, it was about $1,300 with that one there. And we give this out and let people know that, you know, this is what it's going to cost for this one. And this is what it's going to be for the 33-footer. About, you know, and we tried to come in kind of high to come in with those costs. If you have some of these materials available, then that will reduce your cost. Another thing we do is that we kind of find, and I think this is with anybody, is they have to supply the materials cost. Without it, if anything, it's just like anybody else. If you give something free to somebody, sometimes it'll take off, but most of the time you don't find an ownership in that. And what we don't want is to construct these hoop houses and have them sit there with nothing in them. So that is another reason why you need to have at least some kind of option to kind of get the people involved that are constructing this. They have ownership. They have money out front. So that's the reason why we do that. Another thing we do is we will come out and put on a workshop or help build this hoop house for any tribal program or individual. We're not just concerned with the tribal programs. And we're kind of finding we're having more success with the individuals, because if the individuals are willing to put this cost up, they are the ones that will make sure it works. They want it there, so it's more likely that it will succeed. And they have. Again, we're just 1 year into it, so we're learning as we go too. So that's another thing. Now again, these are kind of the cutting instructions, and this is kind of taken out of Dan's PowerPoint. And what we did here is we told them that to use the minimum amount of lumber, if you get those links on this side and cut it accordingly, that you will use the minimum amount of lumber that instead of buying this one here, or if you buy certain lengths and you cut this one here, then they say, oh man, I'm 2 feet short on another one. So this is what kind of Dan and Utah State kind of developed out of their concept. So we are using that, and that has worked out very well. And these are the end wall dimensions, kind of what we, that all the letters on this back one, that's where they kind of go on those. You can kind of see how they're there. Now, and what we've done in order to, if we don't have a lot of time, we will pre-construct at least one end. And we do that because we want to get that workshop done in a day. What we do is we go in the morning, kind of do a presentation like this, showing all the materials and things like this and how to do it. And then we go out in the afternoon and put one up. And kind of following Dan's concept that we did in the Yerington one, he had us put everything together, but sometimes, depending on our time, we will construct things ahead of time and bring them in. So it kind of depends on your time frame. This is kind of important here. We're kind of going through, you know, showing how the different things on that. This is the hole where the PVC pipe goes through, so you gotta make sure that everybody knows what's going on. And this is the site down at Walker River. This is where it was, the initial part of it was put up. And there's another, these are the dimensions for the top venting door, and that's the end door vent frame. And here's putting the plastic on the door. And here's the PVC requirements. Now this one here, I don't know why we didn't pick this up, but on my initial one at home, what we did is we built one first because we wanted to make sure that, yes, we knew what we were talking about when we went out to other people and put on this workshop. So Dan, yes, I learned a lot, but you don't learn a lot. You don't learn as much until you do it yourself, the whole thing, and put it together. So that's what we did in there. And what, well, let's see, I don't know if I got a picture of it. That one there, that's the one that we first put up. So we cut our PVC pipes wrong. So what happened when we were putting it over the end walls? Man, we were about that short. So what do we do? And I don't know if, nope. Well, you can kind of see it there. You can kind of see that we added on to this one here. And it's higher than the others. So we kind of got it looks like a sway back horse out there, kind of see where it comes down. And that seems to be our trademark going through here. We kind of, but even those sway back horses, they work too. So that kind of works good. Okay. And this is the one that we put up in Yerington. That was with Dan. And again, this is the one at my house. And what we did is I figured, man, I didn't have all the 2x4s, but I had a lot of old lumber, and I had a saw that I could rip that stuff with. So I figured, well, hey, if I can build it with used lumber and stuff like that, you know, we can do that. And if we got the real good materials, we ought to be even better. So that's what we did there. Another thing too, that we put one up down in Logandale, that's Moapa Valley, Southern Nevada. The extension agent down there wanted us to kind of do a workshop down there, and she is a economics resource person. So she did not understand the concepts. She understood numbers, but not the actual workings of how things went. So when we got down there, the bottom boards were twisted, and her plastic, she couldn't get a full 24-foot plastic, but she found two 20-footers. So I told her, man, you know, you're kind of testing our abilities here, but I think we can kind of do this. So as on these end walls, we kind of, as we put it together, we kind of use that to straighten out those bottom boards and kind of put them in there. But yes, and what we kind of learned from this, there is a lot of different ways to do stuff. it's not just one method. So with whatever materials and ideas you have, you can make it work depending on what you want to do. As long as you kind of look at the whole concept and go from there. It's not a thing that has to be just so. And as we're going, we're learning things. And Dan and Brent, I imagine you're learning things as you go along too, because it's a never learning process. You kind of run across things that you run into. So, but that's the one that's our first one that we put up. And another thing too is we have to let people know on the materials. These are kind of specialty items that you cannot just go into a hardware store and buy. You have to, most of the time, these cross burnings, those need to be purchased. We have used twine. In the absence of somebody who hasn't purchased those, like I say, we can make things work. It's just a matter of kind of, yes. Okay. And that's another one there. Again, down in Logandale, she didn't have that. So what did we do? We started thinking about it. Well, if we bought a oversized T with the other fitting in there, well, maybe we can make that work, which we did. We put it on there and kind of put it together. So, and this is the one in Yerington. Well, you can kind of see even Dan had a sway back here too, so we're kind of, not them all of them are even. And what this is just kind of going through and showing the presentation first, what's expected. And what we're finding is that with most of these, and it happened to me too, the first time I went and did it, I thought, oh man, how's this going to hold up? And I lost mine at the house there, and we had those, oh shucks, I don't know, the winds were extremely high. And my ground was sandy to where we had the rebar in and tied down. And I think, this is what I'm thinking, I think the wind came over the top of the hoop house and it promoted that kind of airplane effect where it kind of pulled things up. And it was just getting dark. I was kind of in my pajamas and my wife comes running in. The hoop house is gone. So I was running out there with rebar and a sledgehammer in my pajamas trying to anchor that thing down. We did have to put another piece of plastic on it, but we didn't lose everything. But there are problems. It can go up. Another thing that we didn't put any support for snow loads. And up in Duck Valley, we had them crunched down in one snow, and we have to go back and redo some of those. That's another thing in snow areas. Make sure that you put those on there, because I think they had about 6 inches of snow, and the weight of that is extremely heavy for PVC. So that's something else that we learned as we went. And that's it there, how you put it in. Another thing we're finding is that just putting this like that is not good enough. We need to kind of tie it to something, because what happens is that hoop house moves when the wind blows, and those things will fall out. So that's something else, and we're still working on that. And there's different methods of whatever you kind of that can work. You can do that. Now this is my wife was the one that wanted this, so this is kind of a primitive irrigation. She wanted it set up, so this is what I did real quickly, and here's the way it kind of turned out. She's got strawberries on this side, tomatoes right there, lettuce, onions, and carrots and beets on that side. And that's how it grew. Wow. And this is the kit that we had in Duck Valley that we put up. And that was the one, materials cost $3,000. And it took us about if we were there, it took us about 4 days to kind of figure out all the systems and things like that and put it all together. And as you can see, it has the plastic on the ends rather than the others. So, and one other thing, people have their own ideas about what to grow. And this one here, one thing that we kind of found out is don't grow pumpkins inside the hoop house. This is what happens. So So, like I say, live and learn, and everybody has to do this, it seems like. They want to grow squash or pumpkins, but this is what happens if you do that. So.